Hey guys, welcome back. On today's episode, we are going to work on our show post. Basically, it's going to be a page that displays a single post. Right now, if you click on any of these posts that we have, you're basically redirected to a not found page, right? So let's go ahead and fix this on this episode. Now, before we do that, guys, we currently have an issue on our admin panel, and it was pointed out by one of our viewers on the previous episode. Basically, if you try to create a new post and you click on create, you actually get an error message. And we didn't get this because we obviously already had a lot of posts that we created using our post factory. So this should be a very easy fix. Basically open up your post resource file, the filament file, and then where we are actually displaying the author, the select, inside the make, this shouldn't actually be author. This should be user ID or the column name you used. So if you used author ID, go ahead and replace it with author ID. In this case, I used the user ID, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. And you can double check it if you set up your fillable, or you can check out your migration file. So now that we have fixed this issue, let's save it up. Let's go back. I will reload and I will try again. Put some random stuff. Select an author. Click create. And now, as you can see, guys, it is indeed working. So thank you for pointing that out, guys. I appreciate it. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and work on our post show page. So this is going to be a relatively simple page. First, I'm going to define the routes and set up the controller, and then we can go ahead and set up the views. So let's go ahead and do that. Open up our web.php file. So for the show page, it's going to be a route after blog. So it's going to be blog / and then here we are going to use our post slug, right? So for example, it could be post title, something like this. So for this one, what needs to be an argument or a route variable. And here we can say post without the $sign. Now we're actually going to use the slug. So if you just put post, Laravel will assume that you're passing in the ID, especially if you're using a route model binding. So what we need to do is you need to go ahead and do ; slug. So the route model binding will automatically detect it. And then for this index, we need to replace this with show. Same for this index over here. And that's all we have to do in our routes. Let's open up the controller next. I'll just copy the index. It's going to be exactly identical. So we don't need the category. This should be show. And then we need to accept our post. So we need to get the model type and then post. That's all we have to do. Now, one thing to be careful, guys, is the argument name you use over here should be exactly identical to what you have inside your routes. So here, if you used article, this variable name should also be article, okay? So that's very, very important. Just be careful of this. If you're getting any error messages, make sure you have the exact same name. And now we can go ahead and pass it in to our blade file. Now, if you guys would like, you can go ahead and use a compact. I personally don't like to use it on videos because it is a bit confusing for new people to Laravel. So I'll just go ahead and use this syntax. I think it's very easy and you can immediately know what is going on. So now we need to actually create this post show blade file. Now in Laravel 10, there is actually supposed to be a new command that was introduced, I believe just last week or 2 weeks ago, PHP artisan make view, and then it should be posts show. Let's see if it works or not. I'm just trying it for the first time. And it is indeed working. Very nice. So let's go ahead and copy the code from our index.blade.php, put it inside show. And we don't need any of the content inside. So let's just save this, guys. Let's also save the controller. Now, in order to test this, we need to actually update our post item. So it actually points to this show page. So let's open up post item. And we are supposed to have the post show page inside our image as well as the title. Okay, so for this one, for the thumbnail, it's a very easy code. We can say route posts show, and then we need to pass in the post slug. So I'm going to say post slug, and we can copy this and reuse it over here. So let's do a quick test. See the routes is working. So I'm going to click on it, and it is indeed now working. Now we are also referring to it over here on our home page. So this is going to be our post card component. So let's also open it up and fix the links there as well. So we have the link over here as well as over here. Let's see if it works as well. It is indeed working. Very nice. So now that we have this, guys, we need to actually set up the HTML inside of it. So for this one, you need to go ahead and open up the GitHub link for our HTML template. I will have the link in the description. It's going to be on all the videos in the description. But basically, we need to use this post.html file. So it's a simple HTML. I'm going to copy the entire thing by clicking on this copy raw on the right side. Move over to our show file and paste it in inside our app layout. So let's paste it in. I'll format it. So we need to remove obviously all the HTML we don't need. So we don't need anything from header above. Let's delete all of these. I'm going to minimize this article element. We don't need the main and the body, all those stuff we don't need. We also don't need main. Basically, we just want this article tag or element, okay? So let's save it. Let's go back. And as you can see, it is now looking nice. So let me close this GitHub link. So now we can go ahead and replace this with the actual post content, which should be very easy to do. So let's get started, guys. The first step is we need to update the post title. I'm just going to say post title. For the image, I'll just copy it from our post item. So it's going to be post get thumbnail URL. Let me copy that. I'll paste it in. For the alt, I'm also going to copy it from post item. It's just going to be thumbnail. We can also put the post title if you like. Next up, we have the author details. I'm actually going to leave that for now because we are reusing this on a few pages, multiple pages on this page and item page. I will actually go ahead and create a blade component for this so we can easily reuse it. So I'll leave it for now. Next up, we have the kind of reading time, I guess you could call it. So for this one, I'm also going to copy it from post item. It's going to be post get reading time. So let's paste it in over here. Next up, we have this one, which is the when it was published. And we can also get it from here, post published at diff for humans. So that's it. Let's do reload, make sure everything is working. It seems to be working. Then we have our like button. So this one, we don't need to do much. We can actually copy the exact same code from post item. And because we are using a Livewire component, so the like button is, guys, is where the one is. So you need to find it. We need to replace the entire A tag inside show page. Let's save it. Let's go back, make sure it's working. And it is indeed working. So we don't need to worry about anything. Again, it's an independent component, so it should work out the box as long as we are passing in the key as well as the post itself. So the only thing remaining now is the post content inside of it, okay? So let's scroll down. Now, we do have this button over here, this 3 dots. We don't have any use case for it currently on our application. If you guys would like, maybe you can go ahead and add some custom buttons. I'm just going to go ahead and remove it because it's kind of useless at the moment. We don't have any functionality for it. So for our post content, we can go ahead and display the body. So I can say post body. Now, if we reload, you can see, guys, we're not able to see any of the HTML tags. So this is because by default, Laravel Blade actually escapes or removes basically any of the HTML tags you have for security reasons, right? This is primarily because we want to avoid any XSS attacks on our application, okay? So in order to fix this, you can go ahead and replace this kind of mustache syntax, 2 curly brackets with 1 curly bracket. So basically replace it with this. And this will disable the default HTML escaping, okay? So this is, so you need to be careful with this. If you add this, your site will be potentially vulnerable to cross-site scripting attacks. Now, in this case, because we are only our admins have the ability to post articles, we don't need to worry about it. Obviously, we trust ourselves in this case. So we don't need to worry about anything. But if you are using this with user-submitted content, never use this, okay? Always escape it, just to be safe. Now, if you, for example, have a blog application such as Medium where other people can post, you will have to go ahead and either manually yourself escape only the dangerous ones. So you need to only allow maybe h1 tag, p tag, the image, you know, the most common ones, or maybe use a package for that. That's kind of outside the scope of this tutorial, guys. So I'm not going to be covering it. In this case, only our admins can post an article, so it's safe to do it. And it is indeed working. Now, we have this issue where this is going outside the page. So this is a Tailwind CSS issue. If you're using like Bootstrap, shouldn't be an issue. But in Tailwind, it just removes all the default styling, okay? So, and I believe there is an HTML, there is a tag of, I'm not sure what it's called, prose, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, this one. So you need to go ahead and add this. So let's do a reload. And as you can see, it's now our pre-tag is looking nice. And it also fixed the overflow issue. I'm not sure actually how you pronounce this. Is it pros? I'm not sure. But that's the tag. That's the CSS class for fixing the issue. Next up, we have the categories. This one is going to be also very simple. We can actually just copy it from here, from our post item for each, and then display badge. All right, let me format this, guys. Let's go back. And it is indeed working. If I click on any of these links, as you can see, it is indeed working. Now, one thing I did forget, guys, is when we are adding these tags, I forgot to add wire navigate to it. If you notice, the page is actually reloaded. So let's go ahead and fix that inside our post item. So this one needs to be wire navigate. Now you could potentially go ahead and create like a link blade component, so we don't have to add this wire navigate every time we use a link. So that's a potential thing you could do. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and add it myself. And we also need to do it on post card as well. So let's go ahead, wire navigate, and also wire navigate. We might refactor this later on. Okay, let's save it. And I believe we are good to go, guys. Let's test it. And it is in now working without reload. So we still haven't added the author. So as I mentioned, guys, I would like to make this a reusable component. I would also like to refactor our category badges. So if you guys pay attention right now, we have this piece of code over here where we are passing in the route, wire navigate, and the BG color. This is kind of duplicated on multiple pages. I believe 3 or 4 pages. And if we later on decide to change this for some reason, it's going to be a little bit annoying and we might forget to change it on one of the pages. So I will go ahead and create actually a blade component just for category badges. So let's go ahead and do it. Open up the terminal and type in PHP artisan make component, and it's going to be obviously inside our posts folder, and I'm going to name it category badge, or we can do category badge and do -- view, hit enter. And now let's search for it. Category badge is over here. So this is going to be basically same as the badge over here, right? So we don't need to actually write any additional code. Just cut this or copy it, come over here, and that's all we have to do. Now we do need to add a prop to it over here. So I'm going to say props and then a category. And that's all we have to do. Super simple stuff. Now we don't need to basically repeat this piece of code on every single page. And over here, it's going to be super simple. We can say X posts category badge. Of course, we need to pass it in the category. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. And this should work out the box. Let's do a reload. And it is indeed working. Now we do also need to change it on all the other pages. So let me copy this posts category badge. So we have it on post item. So let's replace it over here. Yeah, this looks much nicer. We also have it on a post card. So let's also update it over here. And I believe we also have it on some categories box, something like that. Yeah, over here as well. All right, so it's 4 different places. Let's make sure everything is working. I'm going to test it over here. This one works. This one is also working. Very good. So next up, we have this author details. So this one, I also want it to be a reusable blade component. So let's go ahead and create that. It is going to be this one. And I'm going to say author, right? Post author. I think author should be enough. So let's create it. So let's open it up to author. And we can, let me close all these extra files we have, so it's a bit easier for you guys to see. So for now, I will go ahead and copy it from our post item.blade file. So the author details is this one. It is this image as well as this span. Okay, so I'm going to copy these or cut this, move it over here. Now we need to accept obviously the author as a prop. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say props, author. You can also use user if you guys would like, but I'm going to go with author so it's consistent with the component name. Of course, we don't want to use the post for this. So I'll get rid of that. Same over here and also same over here. And I think that's all we have to do now. We do need to do something for the sizing. I'll fix that in a second. So let's go ahead. And in this case, we can just say X post.author. And I think this looks actually very nice. We're basically displaying the author's, the post author. And now we need to pass it in author as post author. So let's save this. Let's do a reload. And it is indeed working. So next up, we need to do the exact same thing on our show page. So let's also do it over there. I'll just copy it from here, go on the show page, find the author, should be somewhere at the top. It's over here, this MN part. So let's go ahead and paste it in over here. Now, if you guys pay attention, for this one, we're using W10 and H10. So the size is actually different. So we will need to fix that. Although it might look with the smaller size as well. Yeah, I think it looks a little bit too small. Yeah, I think we should make it a bit bigger. So let's go ahead and add the ability to adjust the size. So inside our author, we can go ahead and accept an additional prop of maybe a size. And we can do the same thing we did on our badge and basically define a few different configurations. So if anyone even opens the file, they know that, okay, we accept like 3 different sizes, right? So it's easy to use. So I'm going to go ahead and take a similar approach. So we can go ahead and use a PHP tag over here. And then we need to, so the size is applied both to the image as well as the text itself. So we can maybe have 2 different variables for this. I'm just, coming up with a solution right now, guys. I'm going to say image size, and this one, I'm going to use a match statement. So I'm going to say size. And then for this one, we are going to have small. So for small, I'm going to go ahead and use the exact size we have over here with 7. And then we need like a medium. So for medium, I say 10. So this is what we are using on our show page, or we were using. And then I'll also add a large for later on. Maybe it's going to be 12, okay? Or maybe 13. Let's have 3 difference between each. And then I will also add a default in case we get some invalid value. And for default, I'll just go ahead and use 7, or let's go with 10. Okay, so now we can go ahead and replace this W77 with image size. Okay, now we need the exact same thing for the text size as well. So I'm going to say text size. So for small, we are going to use a text extra small. Although I know it looks a bit weird, but we could technically go ahead and also add an extra small, but I think this is okay. For medium, we are going to say text small. And then for LG, and this one should be LG, not MD, we can say text base. So text base is basically the default size, or you can just leave it as empty, but I'm going to use text base. And of course, you can go ahead and use any other size you like, guys. You don't have to use the ones I'm using. And then here, I'm also going to say a text base. Sorry, text small. Okay. Actually, I think medium should be base. Yeah, medium should be base, and then maybe for this one, we can use LG. Yeah, for some reason, our sizing is not exactly consistent on the pages, right? So on let's go back. On this page, we are using extra small, and then on the show page, we are using LG. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and also add an extra small. I think it's a bit confusing here, so let's do extra small here. For the extra small, we are going to use W10, W7, H7. And then for small, we can go ahead and maybe use 9. Same over here for the text size. So this one is going to be extra small. This one is going to be small. And then the LG is going to be whatever it is, okay? Now I think it's a bit better. And then by default, obviously, we are going to use text base, which is going to be our medium, okay? So let's save this. Now we are getting an error. It's telling us size is not defined. Now one easy solution is we can go ahead and set this to null by default in case the user forgets to add a size. I think it's okay if you do that. And then, so by default, obviously these got a bit bigger. So we need to go ahead and define it. So let's open up our post item. And I'm going to say size small, or it should be extra small. And now it's working. Now I think the size is a bit different. I might have made a mistake on the class names. This should be 7, not 6. As a matter of fact, I feel like it could also be a bit smaller. I'm not sure. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Let's click on this. And this one, I think by default is okay. We don't need to actually define a medium, but let's go ahead and do it just to be safe. So I'm going to go ahead, open up our show page, and here we can say size medium. All right. Let's see actually how large looks. Is it too big? Yeah, it's way too big. Or unless we have some issue in the... Although I don't think the tailwind actually has a W13. So we can change this just to tailwind width. I believe it doesn't have 13. It might have 16. So it has 10, 11, 12. So we don't have 13, but we have 14. So we can go ahead and use 14 instead. And I think now if I reload, we actually have this. Now the text itself looks extremely small for me, but we could maybe use XL. It still looks very small. So I think the reason the text isn't getting bigger is because probably we are overriding it here with text space. It still is not getting any bigger. I think I'm not applying the CSS class. Let's double check. Where is the author? Yeah, I forgot to apply it over here. So we need to do this. Instead of extra small, this should actually be text size. I'm like, why is the size not changing? Okay, guys, now it is working. We don't need to worry about anything. So you can go ahead and adjust the size to your liking, whatever you like. I'm going to set it back to medium. Okay. And now I think it looks good. This is obviously the default size. It should be this size, but I'm zooming in on YouTube so you guys can see clearly. And I believe we are done for today's episode, guys. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed today's video and learned something new. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. As always, make sure you like the video and subscribe so you get notified of the latest episodes. And I see you guys on the next video. Have a great day. Bye.